Right. A very good morning to one and all, and a warm welcome to the guest for today. Dr. Debarshi Mukherjee is from Tripura University. Yesterday, we had the inaugural session of the workshop that we are having on entrepreneurship and innovation, wherein we had the chief guest from Myanmar, Ms. Kai Kai Winshui, where she shared her views and her life experiences, the challenges which she has faced in starting a new venture. So she shared a few principles which were related to entrepreneurship, and those principles were really worth implementing with. So in continuation of the lecture series that we have planned for like 10 days, we have with us today an eminent and a prolific personality, Professor Dr. Debarshi Mukherjee. I had an opportunity to meet him and to work with him in Galgotia Business School, sir, if you remember. And sir is going to share his views on the topic creative intelligence and design thinking. Before I invite him, let me share some of his experience, his achievements with all of you. Dr. Mukherjee is an alumnus of Vishwa Bharati Shanti Niketan and Banasthali Vidyapith, Rajasthan. He is an associate professor and head of the Department of Business Management, Tripura University. He is also the founding head of the Department of Tourism Administration. He has established the state's first business incubator funded by the Ministry of MSME Government of India. Having specialized in the information systems domain, his research interest lies in developing blended learning models and ICT intervention in tertiary education and ensuring learning continuity. Having more than 20 years of experience in academics and administration, he has over 90 publications to his credit. Dr. Mukherjee has worked in many funded projects sponsored by NABARD and ICSSR. He has recently published an edited volume titled Purvottaran, The Rise of Northeast, Paradigms of Development in the VUCA World, and published by Bloomsbury and forwarded and written by the Honorable Chief Minister, Government of India. So there are so many achievements, so many things to his credit. If we'll keep on talking about his achievements, I think it will take the whole session. So sir, over to you now. Our participants and students, they are waiting to hear from you. So over to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining and accepting the invitation.
Thank you so very much. You just reminded me of the days when we were there at Galgotia's.
Yes.
Nice, literally. So the day I received your call, I was wondering. I mean, then I could recollect. It's been quite a 5-6 years time now. But eventually, I thank you for inviting me to talk on this, very interesting and upcoming area. And I think you had a grand opening yesterday when somebody talked about personal experiences. Because I feel, because when we set up this incubator there in Tripura, it is the state's only, so far the only one. There's one special, space-related incubation there by NIT Agartala, but mostly the business incubator is the only one, which is, I think, God has been kind enough with me to help choose me to help the people of Northeast. Because Tripura, the state, is the third smallest state in the country and having a population, I think, of around 47 lakhs. And our Honorable Chief Minister is very much prudent in his thought process to set up ecosystems where business can proliferate. But today, what I have chosen to talk to the young minds here is the entrepreneurship and innovation. These are some of the big area, but today I'll be talking about the approaches, because I come from the quantitative research field and I prefer to talk on those areas which are actionable, which can be quantified, which can be measured. And there are a couple of models which I feel that are very, very important for all the students to understand and appreciate, so that they can find their ways out. Find that, I think. And in between, if you have any questions, the students, scholars, I'll be more than happy. Let me share the screen first here. I should share this one. Is it visible? Just give a confirmation.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay, so I have titled this as creative intelligence and design thinking. These are the two very important and pertinent topics we talk very less, because we feel that design thinking comes from the area of engineering. So the management students or the social science students do not have much to do with this. But that's a myth. That's not true. Fine. So I'll, in the process, while I'll go ahead and share my experiences with my incubator and the ideas that and we're trying to fund, because right now we have got around four major fundings to the amount of 15 lakhs each as the seed funding by the Ministry of MSME, and each one is a very interesting one, and I'll be sharing some bit of it, though we are under some bit of a restriction. I cannot divulge much details because as long as it's a proprietary product of the ministry, but that doesn't stop me from sharing the overall idea how it shapes up. Fine. And yes, that I have titled this talk as Fostering Brilliant Minds, because I believe I'm talking to some of them sitting right there across the screen and listening to our discussion. So I'll start with a very interesting quote by one gentleman called Henry Dreyfus. Now, Henry Dreyfus, if we talk about design thinking and we do not talk about Henry Dreyfus, is something like we are talking about Bollywood movies without referring to Mr. Amitabh Bachchan. So Henry Dreyfus, I'll just tell him who he was. He has a lot of credits to his. Only one thing perhaps you will be able to understand. You remember during 80s in India, we had that black dialer phones, right? So when we had a long cradle, then the mouthpiece was a big stuff. And that was the design created by Henry Dreyfus. Now, soon after, the push button phones came up. So his idea existed for over 42 years without a change. So therefore, the statement when it says that when the point of contact between the product and people is a point of friction, the designer has stated. So the first thing we must remember as an innovator, that this is not something we are doing for our own satisfaction, rather to help people to overcome their challenges. So when Graham Bell, the Bell Lab, invented the telephone, it was, it was a very cumbersome process. You must have seen in earlier movies, right? You had a small dialer, then the physical PSTN connection, the cable connection used to be there. He was the person who tried to connect the electrical circuitry in the telephone system with which we could dial the phone, directly access the connection. So therefore, people realized the need of having a device which could connect people. So that was the basic onset of design thinking, how it happened. And there are multiple stories, right? The windshield, the wiper. Earlier, the cars used to come without a windshield, and it came not from an engineer, but from a nurse who was traveling in a car without a windshield in a rainy night, and she could think about having that kind of wiper and windshield to be there in the car, which is again today one of the path-breaking. Is always does not have to be a very rocket science or very state-of-the-art technology. It could be as minute as a design. It could be the elevation. It could be the depression, decline of a product, the hand-holding, the ergonomic structure. There are a multitude of things which people can think and do. So when we talk about set up this innovation point, I just share one of the ideas which we are working on. Now, let's say in Tripura, it's mostly a rural state. So one idea came up of having making a house with ram dirt. Ram dirt means you pound the soil with a 3,000 pound heavy metal, so that it get compressed, and you take the air bubbles out of that soil, and we give water and keep pumping it, hitting it very hard. So it becomes a brick like. So it's a brick without hitting, without putting any kind of chemicals into it. It's a solid earth structure. So rammed earth houses are absolute marvel to see, because I have seen a couple of them as a prototype where you do not need an air conditioner machine. So it is naturally air cooled. and and then these structure are for very long sustain, even it's earthquake resistance also to some extent. So now what I'm trying to make you people understand is that, innovation stems from the very first point, that where you want to help the people. Fine. Now I'll just take you, because that is my core area of research, that the psychological aspects. So now the question comes, how do we think? This is a very interesting perspective, because it may be asked by the children at home, your peers and all. We said this person is a very logical thinker, this very innovative thinker. But the question comes, biologically, scientifically, how do we think? So understand one thing, it's the chemicals in our brain that induce our thought process, creativity, agility, moods, moments, whatever you want to say. So this is very interesting part from our side to understand. It is just like, some of the chemicals, I'll name them, perhaps you all know, like serotonin, dopamine, GABA butyric acid, fine, acetylcholine. So these are the some of the chemicals that induce. And now the children, some of them, they feel the sleeplessness at nights, they cannot sleep properly, they do have directional problems. These all are the use and abuse of their normal biological clock. So now creativity has to foster with the solid secretion of those chemicals. So from there the thought process appear. Fine. Now, as I was talking about the innovation component, which essentially comes from the fact that one has to very categorically talk about why I am doing it. So now two important things, that audacity and humility. Now they do initially, they are juxtaposed words. Primarily we talk about that we are we have the audacity, at the same time how could we have the humility? The audacity needs that you can design something the world thinks you cannot do. The people think that nobody can thought about the electric cars would be there, the vehicles would be there. Fine. Now I'll give you another very important example here. The funding which we have got for one project is about retrofitting the vehicles without those vehicles which are primarily the auto rickshaws, which are flying and they emit a lot of carbon dioxide. So one of our incubatee, he has designed a device which could be fitted to the auto rickshaws which are already flying, and which can neutralize the emission of those carbons completely. Now, what is basic agenda? What I'm trying to make you people understand is that initially, whenever I'm trying to think any idea, the first thing is the commercial value, the business proposition. And in the design thinking component, you will be, you will be knowing that I think somebody must have talked to you, or we will talk to, that MVP is something which we product. But then there are things which we need, maybe needing initial investments, but it can go a long way helping people in changing their lives. Because Tripura as a state is the oxygen rich state. And our honorable CM boasts that we are the people who are giving oxygen to the rest of the country, like Northeast and other states. So there, this kind of product it has got a tremendous impetus. So if I see that the autos that are plying on the roads, which are emitting black thick carbon dioxide laden air, and it is polluting it, but if I could fit some kind of device, even the ISRO scientist who was there in the panel when we were defending that idea appreciated the thing that this is needed for a state. I mean, I'm not saying that not needed in Delhi or any other popular metro cities, but particularly those states which are very ecologically fragile, for them these products are tremendously important, and we are working on developing that kind of models. So that is the reason I'm talking about this is a humility. When people think that, okay, fine, my product would bring in the adequate changes in person's life. Fine. And then we talk about the focus on very simple details. Now we'll talk about that FB button. I think all of us are, And those who are attending this workshop, mostly all of them are on Facebook. Now, earlier we used to have this kind of Facebook like button. Fine. Now, it took around 200 hours of redesigning, and people thought that English is not the mostly wide spoken language. English is not the mostly wide spoken language all across the world. There are Spanish, there are Mandarin, there are different languages spoken. So why do, if I want to reach to the last mile, every country, every state, every district, so I should not be using English as a word. Rather, what was the, the oldest form of communication? Sign language. So initially, then this button got changed to this one. Now, this button usually does not reflect a country, does not reflect a culture, does not reflect a creed, nationality. It reflects a gesture. So therefore, just think about how many hours of thought process must have gone into it in designing this kind of emphasis. Next, we talk about another interesting views. I think we all see them, but rarely we care about it. That is the Google screen. Now, right, Google screen has been completely this. They could have populated with a lot of content, advertisements, but mostly they have tried to all across devices widescreen. So usually this is one interesting part. They did not want to clutter it. They wanted the people should find some search elements here. Fine. Here we'll talk about little on psychological part, because that is very much inherent with the innovation and the entrepreneurship component is the reasoning why I'm doing so. If I'm doing anything, what is the most important part? Why I'm doing? Fine. So we talk about the adaptive and deductive reasoning. Inductive is automatically the exclusion complementary part. So now there are two ways to look at it. When I'm doing an adaptive reasoning, so adaptive reasoning in innovation says that I take an educated guess. So with a very small sample size, is a parsimonious sampling technique that I go at and then create, I find some evidences and come back to the reasoning part. This is happening. It may be a new product launch, new idea launch. You find that in your locality, one idea may percolate deep down. Now, I'll give you a very great social experiment here. During this Manrega projects, I do not know whether you're aware of it or not. There is a scheme where if there are 5 or 6 people, all of them have lands. So one of them may sacrifice their land, and in that land, a pond could be dug up so that water that person can sell to the rest of them. That has got a tremendous success. It comes under Kapad scheme, and I have been to Chhattisgarh. I've seen Raipur and all those. Raipur has, because it's a very drought-prone area, so they have experienced tremendous irrigation growth due to that kind of model. So that's what I'm time and again I am saying. It could be. It doesn't always have to be a factory-made product. It could be a social experiment also. And I'll give you another interesting example. Very recent one. One of my students, he was there on the Brute video recently, which was published. Rohit Anand Pathak. So he comes from Varanasi. So when he was with Reliance, he went to his village and found that the people are migrating from village to the city area, and they are taking odd jobs. So what he thought that can there be an alternate to this employment? Can there be livelihood issues tackled being there in that village? So what he did, he studied and went through a research, and he started pearl culture. Now, pearl culture is something in North India. It's not very popular. It is done in Guntur, the Andhra, Telangana. Those areas are very popular in artificial pearl culture. And Andhra Pradesh has traditionally been their market for jewelry designing and all. Hyderabad also a code for NIFT is there. So nobody thought that could be done perhaps. And it was not a very regular phenomenon. I'm not saying no one was doing it, but it was not a very regular that was happening there. So Rohit took up that challenge, and his family had a couple of ponds. In that ponds, he, went for pearl culture. And now today he is not only doing well for himself, he is training the others in that vicinity. He is actually, you know, uh, permeating that knowledge deep down to the last mile so that the entire community could do. So I'm saying at the same time you are having that audacity, the humility is also needed. And then you have that adaptive reasoning and deductive reasoning. So if you are seeing the things are happening, if I could see that, okay, fine, pearl culture is one of the important aspects that is happening, perhaps I can also take a plunge into the market. And obviously supply chain, everything could be designed. Like, in Ahmedabad, the cloth industry, in Kanpur, the leather industry, if the volume speaks a lot. So therefore you have to think on those lines, and one has to identify what are the basic reasons, what are the basic supply line that could probably harvested today. Now, I just try to give a tinge of theory here. It says that it's a very complex thinking process. You always do not need heavy infrastructure or maybe deep pockets to fund your business, but only sometimes a brilliant idea may help you. Fine. Now, in this context, I'll give you another example. You must have heard about the Paper and Parcel. So, Paper and Parcel is a company which is operating out of Mumbai. Now, this company has been founded by a student of class 8th, Tilak Mehta. I think you can Google after this talk, you can find out. See, I'm just trying to bring your attention to the idea itself. It's a very simple idea if you could listen to it. That idea says that Mumbai is a very big city. So if you forget something, let's say you forget your mobile phone, or maybe you want to send a parcel to the other side of the city. So it takes a huge effort and money, because proper courier charges, delivery charges will be there. So what he did, he contacted the dabbawalas, and dabbawalas do it as a part of the additional earning, that they pick it up from the places it has been marked and they deliver it to the place. The dabbawalas traverse almost every nook and corner of the city. So it's a win-win for both. And merely charges for 40 bucks, nobody is minding that the same day delivery is ensured and effective prompt delivery. So what I'm trying to make it clear is the idea which has got the potential to go along ahead, because I sit on different boards where ideas are being presented, and during in my incubation also, that was a national contest happened, out of which I think we had submitted around 10, and in the entire Northeast, we got only 4. So that's, I think that perhaps we had done something good idea to ministry to fund those ideas which we could establish. So every single one, because why I'm saying this thing, because I was part of that each committee and I was very closely monitoring what the funding agencies or the ministry officials looking at. They were trying to look at the uniqueness in the idea, whether the idea has got a potential or not. Now you must be knowing the RFID based the bins, fine, which can automatically detect the kind of trash it has inside. So those trash components, they could always be they could always be seen, they could always be detected and dissected. Now those components are very, very critical part. Those components are their core area. So whenever these ideas have been implemented, deployed, people are using it, and then suddenly somebody says that, okay, I have another idea with the same nature, they simply said, no, this idea has already been present. So the uniqueness, the novelty is very, very critical in your own ideas. Fine. Is there any question? I could see some chat boxes, I think it's getting open. Or we'll take up the question at the end. Oh, I see. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. Thank you, Divyaji. Let me move ahead. Now, a little bit of understanding about the personality of a design thinker. So, I'll not spend much time on that because all are smart students sitting here. So, one thing I want to draw attention is that empathy part. The humility with which we have started, empathy culminates here. One must have a very passionate heart about one's understanding requirement. Now, one very interesting product, I think you have seen that Godrej uh, hand wash. It comes in the form of a powder. Why? Because all liquid ones, they are having some wastage value initially. So if you have bought 100 ml, so 5 to 10 ml, you cannot, use it because they get, stuck with the packet and which you need to discard. And however, how hard you will try to put some water into it, shake it well, take it, put it into a bottle, even then you end up wasting some part of it. So Godrej has come up with a powdered form of your hand wash. You put it into a bottle, add water, shake it well, and it's ready to use. This is what I'm trying to talk about, the innovativeness. It's a very simple thing. Nobody perhaps would have thought about it. Fine. So this is something, one important part. And then another important part is the integrative thinking, the continuation part. If I have designed something, so who is going to make use of it? How it is going to be implemented, at what cost, how long it is going to sustain, is it sustainable or is it a threat to the environment, is it have a long term. Now there are certain interesting products I want to I could have shown it to you, like bamboo. Tripura, my state, is actually known for its bamboo products. Now you will be surprised to know there are 23 varieties of bamboos that are cultivated, and bamboo can produce last product that I have heard about bamboo is the bamboo leaf tea, and I did not drink any single cup of it, but this is there, it's being produced. Another interesting product is about bamboo bottle. So what you do, you take a bamboo and then you put a metal bottle into it and it gives you natural cooling. So you put cold water into it and it remains cool for some time. I'm using some of them. So the idea is, whenever you are having the recent supplies in abundance in your place, you make use of them. Some of the studies are being done, all the bamboo kind of straw, the sipping straw, there's a bamboo variety called tiger bamboo, the sipping straw that are being used. Fine. So now there are multitude of thought processes go into the deeper psyche of the incubator, the innovator, to make use of the product in multitude of ways. Bamboo cycles, again, I think not in India, but I think in some places people have made it. And it's a very natural fiber with a long duration. And I'll tell you, the bamboo tiles, people are using bamboo as a product, the floating tiles, they're making bamboo wood, and you can think about it, and there are endless scopes are there. Similarly, in your vicinity, my suggestion is, do not look for look for the too high profile kind of a model. Think about what is in your nearby, what possibly you could do. You do not have to be a very high tech, tech savvy engineer. Understand what is the problem, because research today has changed its face. They are going more towards understanding how do I solve a problem, of the society. It could be related to the health, it could be related to the education, it could be related to the consumer durables, FMCG, any of those things. And then you try to think what possibly you can extend an idea, you can corroborate certain things, you can challenge the existing idea, you can make amendments into it, and then finally you could overcome the entire challenge and create it. Fine. And then another interesting thing about experimentation, never shy of doing experiments. And then we talk about the collaboration part. So collaboration is an interesting aspect. You need to collaborate with people. We are collaborating with artisans, we are collaborating with people. And I'll tell you that, I mean, recently we have lost the scientist who designed that bamboo bottle to COVID. And during my last meeting with him, he has been a very dear friend of mine, Mr. Pavan Kaushik. You must have seen his obituary came on leading newspapers. So he said that it is the artisans who are coming up with ideas, and my job as a scientist is to integrate them with the user, with the manufacturer, with the market. So now the integrative thinking is very important. So I design this pen and somebody asks me what I'm going to do with it, I have no answer. So that perhaps would not solve your challenge. Similarly, 2 or 3 of our ideas got rejected. So somebody proposed a sun drying machine of tea leaves. So one question has asked that it is already there. I mean, in Kerala and in Darjeeling, they do have their big machines which are sun drying. So what additional things that your idea is going to propose? So that person did not have much of an answer. So that's what I'm saying. Your idea may be good, but is it novel? Is it adding additional value? Is it out of the crowd? Is it doing something which others did not? So this is something which will always should trigger in your mind. Fine. And the steps primarily, I think I'm not going to repeat it. So you have to, identify, empathize your idea, then create an ideation part, develop a prototype, and test and implement. That's a very simple, design thinking. Initially, you need to go for bootstrapping also, because in learning domain, you would be knowing there are basic 3 domains are there. That's affective, your emotions part, your reflective, your cognitive part, and the psychomotor, the action parts are there. So primarily what you do is your thought process with a lot of empathy into your idea, and finally you evolve to a level where you are able to solve problems using the prototype and then go for your implementation part of it. Fine. Now, what are the issues with design thinking? Because design thinking is not a very new concept. Design thinking came in the market around 1948. So, I mean, early 50s or late 40s, I can say, around that time in the industry. So they were primarily trying to think, create designs that could suit the human problems. But then it is not a very rigid structure. It is not a very straight-jacketed, linear kind of a structure. You may have the flexibility to change it suiting to the requirements. The mobile phones, if you could remember earlier, they were putting the pressure on your palms. Now the ergonomic designs have come into the phone, so people are using it. Now the Google Watch is like a wristwatch which you are, using your wristwatch. Using that, you can make your phone call. So people have evolved. The thought process, designs have evolved. So one has to continuously think on that line. Fine. Now, next interesting question is about how do we learn? So I ask these questions to many, and I want to spend, I think with the permission of Swati Madam, spend 1 minute on that and understand if there's anyone who would like to answer this question. How do we learn? You see all students here. So how do we learn here? We all are, I think, teachers and students. So my question primarily with the students. So how do you learn, students? What is the mechanism of learning?
One response we have got is by reading.
Okay.
Involving ourselves in tasks.
Is the reinforcement. That is the part of your peer learning, social learning. One thing is being told to your good habits. Your parents tell you constantly, do this, do that. So you continuously, your good things are being spoken at. Then you have the conditioning part. So you live it to the conditions, you live into the areas, you live into those conditions, you live into those specific domain where you are giving the conditions, the classical conditioning part, the situations you have put into it, and you adapt to the situation. That is our own domain. Next is the unlearning part. So a lot of things that you learn at your childhood, as you grow up, you tend to unlearn. Then you make sure that you go for relearning. These are the 4 important components ensures your learning. The concepts that you have learned in the youth, you try to forget them. Even the management principles that you learn in your school or college days, when you join the industry, when you work somewhere, you tend to forget. Fine. So now you try to relearn according to a situation, adapt to a situation. Fine. So for the innovation space also, you have to continuously unlearn and relearn. This is a cyclical process. It is not a frozen kind of an idea that you have learned something and you have to live with it. It doesn't happen that way. Fine. Now we talk about the creative intelligence part, which comes to a very interesting one, which says that it's a sociological approach primarily. You know, it's not a psychological part, because creative intelligence it stems from the idea that where you are there, scenario building, your situation, where you are living. So accordingly, you need to find a solution to your problem which is sustainable in nature. This is very important. Fine. And it varies from individual. Creative intelligence solutions, it cannot be generalized. You may come up with certain solutions, you may come up with certain designs which is very much local, which is very much needed for a particular problem in that vicinity. Like I'm talking about the Jum cultivation. I don't know whether you know the hill cultivation, the step cultivation that happens in the hills. Now that is not there because we do not have hills here in the plains. So therefore that problem, the creative intelligence part comes there, that it gives you a lot of organic cultivation. So the yield is very much organic. So likewise, there are multitude of examples are there where the problem is of local relevance and needs creative solution to those problems. But then there are problems. First problem is of fractal dimensions. Again, fractal dimension, fractal figures, as you could see the moving images, it replicates itself, it reiterates continuously. Like, the clouds, you cannot distinguish between two stages of clouds. You cannot distinguish between two stages of flowing water. So that is got a very, it's a part of learning also. It's called recursive in nature, but then it has got some negative aspects also. Like, whatever you have been taught, if you go on preaching the same things, it becomes a religious teaching. But scientific teaching would be that you would be adding your own dimensions, own additions into it, and you evolve as a better human being. So fractal dimensions, strict fractal dimensions are a detrimental thing for one's growth. Next is the chaos part. The chaos theory suggests that, there is an, complete unordered randomness, unordered stock market, unorderedness. You cannot predict a stock's price. Always you can predict, but there is no authenticity that is going to be followed. So fine. So now what happens, it is, if your organizational structure, if your process becomes completely outdated, if it completely, it's unordered, completely random, your decision making is completely random, and that is again a detrimental component. Fractals are detrimental, chaos is detrimental, but they are there in the system. You cannot change it. There is everywhere, there's some bit of element of chaos there in every organizational system. Be you like it or not. Sudden storm comes, sudden rain comes. So even there is monsoon rains are there, they are predictable. But when it actually rains, nobody can predict. This is I'm trying to talk about this chaos. But then that would have a tremendous challenge in your decision making, in your success part, in your innovation models, everywhere. It would create some bit of a disturbance. Then another important component, another important phenomenon is entropy. So entropy is actually talks about that disorder or randomness in a closed system. Now you will very clearly say that very structured organizations, how could we see there is a randomness? But there are, because you cannot control over the people. People sometimes make changes, people sometimes make amendments, people sometimes they create situations which is unpredictable. You cannot predict the behavior all organizations. So in mechanistic organizations, people are there who have been trained to perform, like factory environment, but that is not a very suitable environment for ideas to prosper. So entropy again sometimes it has a negative impact, but mostly what happens if you are having some level of entropy in your system, it gives rise to a lot of benevolent, good and prospering ideas within the system which can be cultivated to develop a better solution out of it. Fine. And then the what I will say, the bureaucratic setup. I'm not completely averse of that kind of discipline or bureaucratic setup, but too much of bureaucracy kills the possibility of brilliant ideas to prosper. So if there are talents, so striking a good balance, striking a balance between the disciplinarism and entropy, it is very important, because whenever we are doing some kind of thought process, so we'll start from point A, and I do not know how long it will go, and something new product, new thought process develops. It happened many times. Even in my incubator also we face this kind of situation, but then we try to control it, contain it. But if we stop it completely, no new ideas will come. Nobody would talk things which are different in nature. So there has to be some bit of a difference. Fine. Now, this is the most interesting part which I want to talk about. This is a guy called Ed Lawrence. He was a mathematician, so he was predicting the weather forecasting model. So after decimal, he has seen that there are 6 to 7 digits were there after decimal when we are trying to capture the actual result. So for the ease of use, he reduced the decimal points to only 2. So therefore, let's say if it is 7.3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, so he made it 7.34. So therefore, that minor change after decimal, we also in rational number, real number, we do not find there are too much of impact. But when it is seen on a longitudinal basis, I find that after certain time, it gets deviated from the actual. So one small error can cause havoc in your process. Now here I want to, I can talk about very interesting example. So I do not know whether you are aware of it or not, the Great Chinese Famine. So Great Chinese Famine had in 1958 to 1961. Now see the impact of this butterfly effect. So it says that the butterfly flaps its wings in, let's say, Central Park of US, and it causes a tornado in somewhere in remote part of Texas or US. So there are completely unrelated issues, but still is having an impact. That was the basic idea which he has given in his seminal paper in 1969. So I was trying to draw an analogy how it happened. So would you agree, or in your all sanity, would you like to accept the fact that if I kill or if I exterminate sparrows, sparrow bird, that would cause famine? How realistic would it be? If my question is not clear, again I'm asking, would you agree that if I kill sparrow birds in my area, in my locality, it would bring famine, it would impact the death by starvation in my country? It's very unrealistic, right? But actually it happened. In the year 1958, the Great Chinese Famine attacked China. So what happened when this, after the Mao Zedong or Mao Zedong, whatever you want to call him, he acquired power in China. He created an environment, and he created a 4-phase control policy that butterfly, the rats, the flies, mosquitoes should be exterminated. They are causing death of their people. And he included the 4th pest to be the sparrows, the Eurasian type sparrows. And he allowed people to kill them. And for one long year, people went on killing spree of the birds, sparrows. Because some researchers, one economist told them that these sparrows, though they are eating the insects, but they are eating the food grains because of which people are dying. because of which our people are not being able to feed and they are, die out of starvation. And he allowed it. Within 1 year of doing so, China went into starvation and death was of around 45 million people, because when the birds were not there, locusts grew very fast. There was no birds to kill them, and they ate all the food grains, and people died because for want of food grains. And situation went so worse that China actually had to import sparrows from Russia, and they could release it in Chinese environment so that they could eat those locusts, and then the situation could brought to normalcy. But by that time, millions of people have lost their lives. So that is what I am trying to tell you, that butterfly impacts, perhaps it may seem very invisible. Now we are going with deforestation, afforestation. You look around and the impact on the society you can find out, and that would eventually, have an impact on the hospitality industry. That would have an impact on the, the travel and tourism setup also. So now these are some of the very interesting aspects which I wanted to share with you. And then in the business, I'm going to give you another important impact, like how it happens. The Paytm, the demonetization happened in 2016, and then by that time, on that month, the share of Paytm went by 150%. Growth it happened. I'm not eulogizing any company here, but I'm saying one simple aspect nobody could have thought about it, but it rendered such growth. Another important aspect I'm going to talk about, that even you think somebody paper that I made a very best solution, but they do not sustain for long. So there is a bridge in Honduras which is known as Choluteca Bridge. This is a very classic example. I think wherever I teach, I give this example. This is 484-meter bridge, and Honduras is a country in Central America which faces tornadoes very often. So in 1996, the administration decided to make this bridge, and it was opened before the public in 1998. And then again in October 1998, a tornado called Mitch hit this country. All bridges died. They were collapsed except this Choluteca Bridge, and in that 7,000 people lost their lives. So and the rainfall was to the tune of such a huge 76 inches rainfall happened, and in that that is usual. It says that the 6 months rainfall happened in 4 days. But what happened in that process? The bridge survived, but the river changed its course. Now you see, this is the then bridge which was built in open 1998, and this is after the tornado which happened. Now this is the size of river. The bridge stays here. The body is virtually become unrendered, so unutilized capacity. Therefore, you always should think about the sustainable solutions. Fine. So we need to think about creative solutions which could sustain for long. So either you can build a timeless product, or you can go with keep up with the changes. So here for learning, I have one matrix which I usually share with. Finally, I conclude my talk with this one, that in every learning ecosystem, in the classroom for the teachers, in the organization for the practitioners, everybody, they are falling in either of these quadrants. Either they are the rote learners, and the basic difference, it comes from the fact that the engagement level. So what happens in rote learners, limited time is given active engagement to try to mug up things. Students would know the meaning of it. And there is less time, the induced learners just initiated into it. Traditional learners who prefer to be lectured upon, who do not apply too much of their mind. And then there's the mature learners who always try to extend the ideas. So objective is always to enhance the number of the participants in the cohort from all these three to the mature learner category. And if we are able to do so, we are actually promoting the environment of sustainability, innovation, design thinking, and prosperity. So with this, I conclude my talk, and I would like to answer the questions if there are any. Thank you. I'm stopping the sharing now. Yeah, if there are any questions, I'd like to address them.
The first one, and before I put up the question, let me just thank you, because the way you have explained about the creative intelligence and about the design thinking, about how to implement the idea, the generation of the idea, and some interesting aspect about how the learning take place. So that was really interesting, and I'm getting actually the feedback from the participants that is really interesting, and the way the sir has explained the concept, they have really learned from you. So the question which they have put up is, what are the challenges one can usually face, and generally when they are going to start a new business, or when they are putting their hands into a new venture. So what are the things that you have to keep in mind, and what are the general usual challenges that they face, and how they can overcome with this?
See, first thing that I would say, initially the youngsters face challenge of funding. See, I'll tell you, we have got a startup project also, which is having a funding of 1 CR from the ministry. Some of them walked up to my office. Mostly I see youngsters coming up to my office, say, sir, वो 1 crore वाला project का बारे में बताइए. So the intention from the very first day is very clear. It's not about the brilliant idea or innovation somebody wants to do. It is about the. So you should have one brilliant idea. I'll show you. I think I just got this product, which you can see it. This is what I was talking about, bamboo bottle.
Yes, sir.
This pure bamboo. Just you can see it is designed and put glass into it. It's like, I'll open it for you. It's a metal bottle, and it's the cap, you see, this bamboo covering is given. This is the product, and this is the third product launched in India. So I've been lucky one to being friends with the person who invented it to got this product. So I'm keeping in memory of Pawan Kaushik ji. So you see how good it was done. The bamboo got heated. You put a glass bottle, a metal bottle, which you get around 500 to 600 rupees, and this bamboo is around 200 to 300 bucks, 1,000 bottle rupees, and they are selling it around 1,500 bucks. Exporting, Tripura is exporting these bottles to South Asian countries, exporting this bottle to European countries. People are buying them. So somebody, and this idea did not come from very, from an IITN or IIM graduates. It came from an artisan who works it. So what he was doing, because I keep visiting to village areas, I saw that this is the depth of a bamboo, here the diameter. So I could see they simply cut a raw bamboo, put into water and drank from there. And then that artisan got an idea, why can't we put a bottle inside it, and then we seal it with paint and we cover it. So it look-wise, it is giving very expressive look. I gifted this thing to my wife, but I think now I'm keeping it at my place, just the memory of him. And you can have, there are other models which you can have a holder into it. A lot of things are there. So you can always ideate this kind of thing. So one good idea, all you need, I'm telling you, there are people, there are ministry schemes are there who are willing to fund the ideas. Only thing that you need, one good, brilliant, sustainable idea. And this is sustainably very viable. You just need to, it's a metal bottle. It is not creating, it is not plastic. It's not creating any pollution. Bamboo is there for lifetime. The bottle will collapse. Nothing will happen to this. You put it under water, keep it under 10 days under water. Nothing will happen. Because it is being naturally heated, so that oil has come out, and it is termite free. There is no infestation can happen, and glass bottle might just happen. That's glass bottle, that metal bottle, you can clean it using a brush inside, and that's all. It's a permanent thing that you have got it. And for people, for the students who are running, they do not have enough disposable cash, disposable money, for them it is all the more they should be using it. So similarly, if you are having a good idea and people are looking at for good idea to fund, fine. There are, I mean, multitude of such examples, which the Tilak Mehta one, I gave you that idea. So likewise, the Godrej one, which I have given you the idea. So there are multiple such instances where people with ideas, without fund, they have been able to create. And then their co-creation spaces are there where you can join hands with people. You can identify the resource people who can help you in your funding. Government schemes are there, Mudra bank schemes are there, loans are there. I mean, funding is all, and only you need to develop, bootstrap, develop the prototype and place it before the competent authority. And you should know where you should be going. That's all. And do not share your data and idea to anybody and everybody. That is what I'm trying to tell you. This is, and take it as a mantra from my side. Never ever share your ideas and details and plans, blueprints to anybody and everybody. You will be creating a potential threat to your idea.
Yes, absolutely. So there is a last very interesting question that have been put up. It's said that you're mostly analytical and methodological in your thinking. You are said to be left brained. If you tend to be more creative or artistic, you are ought to be right brained. So is it true? What's your idea and opinion about this?
No, that is fine. Left brain, right brain ideas always will remain so. But I was trying, I think if you have heard me correctly, we have talking about integrative thinking. You are creative, fine. You got an idea, but then what next? I have designed this bottle, but how should I make this marketable commodity? How do I make it a profitable product? Otherwise, then if I do not find a seller or buyer of my product, then perhaps my idea is, going to the dustbin. So methodology is important, thought process is important. You should be integrative thinker. That is the reason design thinking concepts have evolved. You should be able to integrate your thought process constantly, and then you need to find the supply chain. You have created a product, you have created a service. Who is going to use it? Who is going to be a buyer? That is what is important. Fine.
Thank you so much, sir. I hope you have clarified all the doubts of the participants. And what I have learned from your lecture is that you must have an integrated thinking. The generation of ideas should be there. You should be creative enough, and how you are implementing your idea. And overall, you must have a right attitude and a right approach, the right way of looking at the thing. So few points which again was very interesting and which I personally like is the way you have explained the empathy and integrative thinking, optimism, experimentation, and collaboration. These are the few very important aspects and elements which everyone should keep in mind before they are going into a new venture and before they are going to start a new project, a new business. So thank you so much, sir, for accepting the invitation, for joining, for connecting with us and sharing your ideas and your viewpoints with all the participants. So I really thank you on the behalf of the entire Amity family. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Should I leave now with the permission?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Our next guest speaker, Ms. Shampa Banerjee, has already joined, and it gives me a pleasure to welcome her. She has also readily agreed the invitation, and I really thank you, ma'am, for connecting and joining with us. So on behalf of the entire Amity family, I would take this opportunity to welcome our next guest speaker, Ms. Shampa Banerjee. Thank you so much, ma'am, for accepting the invitation and joining with us. Before we thank you, ma'am. Before we start our session, quickly just to make you people understand about her more, because she has done an extremely excellent and wonderful job in various areas. Ms. Shampa Banerjee, she is an executive director of international organization BASME, having members, associates, and offices in more than 100 countries of the world. She's also international convener of All Africa Association for Small and Medium Enterprises, which is headquartered in Besela, Nigeria, and has diverse experience of over 20 years in entrepreneurship development, training, faculty development, microfinance, women empowerment, and rural industrialization. Ma'am is also a member of various prestigious associations and steering committees, civil societies, ministries, including TECOs, COHANS. She is a visiting faculty of different reputed government and non-government organizations like NISBERT, University of Delhi, IMT, JIMS, IMS, and such. She is also a TEDx speaker. She is an honorary secretary of national level of NGO, SAY. She is also president of Wiki Delhi. Wiki is a premier national business chamber for women, envisioning global impact for women entrepreneurs, business women, and professionals from all walks of life. Through her commended work in microfinance, Ms. Banerjee has empowered more than 70,000 people through creation of micro enterprises. She has also been awarded by Honorable President of India in 2009 for her outstanding achievements for overall development of society. MPhil from University of Delhi, India, Shampa ma'am has done extensive national and international training, capacity building workshops, R&D activities in India and overseas. So you can make out that how creative, how much work she has done in her diverse fields and how much experience ma'am is having. So I'm sure the participants are going to learn a lot from you, ma'am. So over to you, ma'am. We'll start and begin your session now.
Thank you so much. I'm really overwhelmed the way you welcomed me. It's really a pleasure joining this group. And how many are there? Like just to have a little knowledge about the group. All their students.
They are students and faculty members both.
Faculty, okay.
Yes.
So I shared the screen of my presentation. So good morning, students, and good afternoon as well. And today we will discuss about business and enterprise management. A lot of changes in this domain has been changed, and we are expecting many more changes in the coming years due to COVID. Scenario of the enterprise and SMEs have already been changed. But still we need to have a business plan. We need to have a plan that through which we are going to manage our enterprises. So there's a few basic things that always remain, be it in COVID era or even post-COVID, whatever the situation is. So we need to have a plan that is there. So assess the voice of entrepreneurship and enterprise establishment. So look, the way we decide, the way we feel, and we should understand exactly what for our heading and why we are going to be an entrepreneur or going to establish my own units. So we should understand that why within ourselves. Then industrial revolution as well, we need to understand what exactly is the scenario, that again we need to understand. So to develop your enterprise, we need to remember that who is our investor, what type of investment we are going to do, and what kind of business. So you are in the first person who must have confidence in the viability of your business concept. So why should be there? You should understand that your viability, what exactly you are looking for, that should be very clear. Then, of course, financial implications that you need to understand. You have to know, you must know the financial things in bank and the potential of in terms of money. So need to be convinced of the viability of business expense. So that means within your why, so many things are there that you need to understand first. your passion. Again, it's a psychological terminology, but you need to have a clear idea that what exactly you're doing. Then, of course, finance. Then the business plan is a communications tool to inform and influence the reader up towards some action, providing a loan, expending credit, investing in your business. So, uh, three things are there again, that what type of financial support and how much volume you will be needing in it. So that again you have to be very clear in yourself. Then only you can approach. Then only you can, after answering your question, the why, then you can proceed. So your enterprise's establishment plan provides some guide map in running business. So what are these maps that you must understand? You will set goals, and then once you are in business, you can measure those goals against the actual performance, and that goal should be specific, certain, achievable, realistic, and time limited. So before we go all these words, before we verify like measurable, achievable, realistic. So again, these are very hypothetical terminology. So first we need to make ourselves convinced, like time foundation is there, and what I am going to do, what is my business plan. So these few points need to be focused on. Present scenario entrepreneurs, although I haven't mentioned here, but still the GEM data is like globally there are about 380 million entrepreneurs, the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, which is basically the measurement parameter we can consider. We all over the world we consider it. So over a 3.5 year period, 254 million male and 126 million brands started to or run business, and 98 million operated established businesses. So forget all these operated established businesses, then things will be a bit different, although you need to focus there also. If you have established business, if you have ancestor business set by your ancestors, again you need to verify all these. But if you are going to establish a new venture, then you must be focused on your why. So most of these soon-to-be entrepreneurs live outside the global economic system. Others are, so why I have mentioned here this, because female have started dominating remarkable business ventures in terms of new business. That is why I have mentioned here that housewives, stay-at-home moms, women who are discouraged from working, they are coming forward in establishing this business. Then sometimes when in our personal life, students, we feel that this I have to do, I have to achieve this in personal life, like I don't want to leave this kind of thing. So it's kind of do or die, create or die. So same thing should be there, like whenever we are planning for to establish or trying to manage an enterprise, so there should be this feel the way we do in our personal work. So three of the most common reasons of entrepreneurship which leads to enterprise development is necessity, circumstances, passion. Increasing entrepreneurship is the key of lowering poverty rates. Every 1% point increase in entrepreneurship corresponds to a new person decreased in the poverty rate. So basically these I have mentioned here to picturize the nation, picturize our nation as a whole. So each drop matters. Similar pattern, each single entrepreneurship initiative, establishing single unit matters to towards the development of our economy, towards the development of our entrepreneurship. So that is there, that we should follow these. So be clear about your business plan. So there are two phases. Like in first phase, your business plan may be your only representation to an outside party, such as a bank or financial institution. In most business startup and the character of the entrepreneur, your business plan not only represents your business, it represents you. Of course, the way we decide, the way we work, the whatever we do, it's our personality. It's reflection of our personality. So we should be very clear what exactly we are planning to do. We should have a market plan. We should have a product plan. We should have financial assessment of financial implications. Then the bank, how we will approach. So everything should be, kind of a synchronic manner, like after this, this will be. So step one, step two, step three, step four, that way. The way we do study, the way we do other things, like when you are going to appear in your exam. So what we do, we subject wise we prepare ourselves, like, yeah, this I'm more confident in this, so I'll focus first in this. If I'm very poor in a particular subject, what I do, I study accordingly, I give more time on that. So that way we are also, before managing, before your business plan, you have to be very clear, like your poor areas, your interest areas, your strong areas. So that need to be focused on, and you should well versed yourself with all your weaknesses and strengths. So there are few do's and don'ts. So try to keep it fewer. Okay, let's not do it in a way. You as keep aside all your don'ts first. So avoid big words and long sentences. They only serve to confuse. So in terms of reader means you can take it as your customer. So avoid big words. You should use simple terminology. So suppose you have a mobile, like you are going to open something, like this is the iPhone cover. So if you are going to establish a production unit of a plastic iPhone cover, so what you will do? Look, through online, it's a really bit difficult for us also. We cannot interact with you that way. So this is the design, and this brand is, you can see a T is written here. Yes, but this is not the brand of this Apple. It's the production house is in India, and the company is very much Indian. So what they did, like they choose a simple kind of color design, and now it's very popular. Like whoever is having this type of, they're looking for this T iPhone cover. So similar way, only one word T, now it has become so what they did, what this company did, like they used only a simple word, not very big. So it may be 1 to 5 words, it may be 1 to 10 words. So you have to decide. But to bring popularity in the market, you have to selective while using the going to establish a brand. So avoid using big words. Don't use technical words and unnecessary jargon. Then avoid using acronyms as well. Acronyms, if you are using, it should be clear in the market. Otherwise, there are so many copy kind of thing that copy and paste is common feature of the present day market. So you have to avoid that. In similar way, there are your do's that you must do. You should be very natural while entering yourself in your ventures you are going to introduce. So only then you'll be able to manage your enterprise. Very simple, and your gestures should be very, normal, not like using difficult things that people cannot understand in the market. We have to make ourselves prior launching something in the market or prior managing the products of my enterprise. That should be market oriented and friendly and very simple, that people are going to opt for. Then business management or enterprise management, what are the basic requirements? So your business concept and your financial requirement. You should first describe to yourself that what is your business, and it should be in very general terms. Include your mission and vision statement in it. Describe what differentiates your business from others. This is important to the reader as they want to know how your business will be able to create new customers. What do you offer that will take customers away from competitors? So you must have noticed that right from my first slide, I have been telling about market, business, finance. So these three things is mandatory. Like if you are able to manage these 3 points, these 3 things in your enterprise, that means you are done with your enterprise management. So you should be focused on that actually. Briefly describe your business history if applicable. Provide any other information that will excite the readers about your business. Then, what are the steps in the planning process? There are 7 steps that I've shared in the screen. A business plan should not be something you prepare once, then put on a shelf and forget. Dynamic planning should be there. So, it's not like that you have planned something and you forget. No, you should keep, you should be visible what how things are evolving, and there should be a dynamic planning as well. So about managing your business, about managing your enterprises. So most successful ventures prepare a 3 to 5 year business plan every year. 3 to 5 years. That means in every 3 to 5 years, there is a change in the market trend. So that we should be very visible. So this involves updating last year's business plan by comparing the planned figures and goals with results achieved and taking into account changes, new information, experiences, and new ideas. The steps involved in the business planning processes are the following. I have already mentioned that there are 3 business planning process. So it's assessing the situation, then developing a mission. So what, like developing a mission means what, like in terms of money, or in terms of turnover, or in terms of capturing the market. So your mission should include everything. Again, that those 3 points in terms of market, in terms of financial implications, like how you are going to increase the volume of your business, and of course the customer as well, like changing trend and all. So you should be ready with all these while setting goals. Then we should keep all these 4 things in mind while working your business plan, then setting employees' objectives, then monitoring the process. Monitoring is the all-time process. Like every time you should observe, you should monitor your business very critically, like where you are going, your enterprise or your business, where stands. If you compare similar industries in the market, so you should be, visual every time with that. Now, of course, enterprise management includes financial planning. So this is the second phase of the enterprise establishment or planning of enterprise. So purpose to show the financial requirements to start the business and keep the business profitable and liquid. So stating your balance sheet, pro forma, income statement, cash flow focus should be there. Notes to the financial plan and statement of personal net worth. So it depends, like there is again, you should be a designer, you should be a stylist, that way prior presenting your financial plan, you should well equipped about the desire in terms of finance, desire of your company and demands. So you should be ready with all these things, and of course cash flow. It's very much mandatory that your focused should be, very well. You should know what is the cash flow, what is the transaction, of your company. So that you need to do. One of the main objective of your plan is to mobilize additional funds, which includes following. So, what you will do with your additional fund? Like you have plan, you have everything. Like you suppose you, for the first range of production, for the first round of your machine production, suppose for a particular thing like baby diaper or kind of thing. So one rotational machine, it produces 1 lakh. Like if it is a fully automatic. Then there are semi-automatic machines. So already I mentioned, like you have a plan in mind that this much amount I am going to invest, or my enterprise needs. Then what you will do with your additional funding? So you should be ready with all the with assumption that situation may comes that my finance, whatever I have planned, may require some more amount. So always business entity or an entrepreneur to manage his enterprise needs to be ready with some additional fund, additional finance. So in then you should be ready with what type of, like what is the design of that your additional funding. So what type of total amount you need, in which currencies, like if your business is in if you are doing it in a local business within the nation, then of course it's in rupees. But there are few businesses like if you have a business, so think out of the box, okay, not forget this production and all. Suppose aquaculture you are doing. So do you think, you have good partnership with Mauritius, you have good partnership with few African countries, and then Russia, there is a big fishes. So, but for that, you have tie-up, your financial planning is already there, you are doing very well, very good, but if your shipment or if your delivery that got stuck somewhere, so do you afford to lose your client for that? Certainly not. So what you will do, you will be ready with your extra cash flow, extra money, that so that you can immediately address to the problem, and with the additional fund you solve that. Then you should be, ready. Like if you have businesses in 3 countries, so you should be ready with that country's currency as well, like how to get changes, and what is the like rate there, the way we do conversion of rupees in dollars, rupees in taka, rupees in dirham. So same way you should be ready with that. For which purpose? I've already mentioned that hidden purposes should may come: working capital, purchase of new machinery, development of new products, refurbishment of plant and equipment. Okay, for new product and purchase of new machinery, that is a planned process. So that again. That may not be a emergency kind of requirement, but when you have started supplying your products to a particular country or to a particular state, province of India, and your client is, you have now after 1 year or after 2, 3, 4 shipments to there, now you got to know that this client is potential for me and I'm going to get orders. I have a secure order every year. So for that, I need to develop my machinery, my infra, my equipment. So then, you will be needing additional fund. So you have to assess when you need this. I already mentioned that if you have a client, not only 1, 2, 3, 4 clients, you have to assess. You need to assess what type of clients you are. Like there are clients, they sometimes orders in a year or 2, but there are regular clients. They are the backbone of your enterprise. So you managing your enterprise, keeping in view your existing buyers, that should be there. So where and when you are, and for what particular purpose you need this additional fund, you have to make clear. Are you seeking shareholders funds, loans, or a combination of both? Then again, like while you are managing your enterprise, now after few years, you understand that what type of requirement, what type of funding requirement is there. So there are many things available in the market. So how you are going to manage that, you have to be very decisive and focused on. There are crowdfunding, there are shareholders funds, there are loans available. Then combination of both can be there. So it's up to you how mature you are in your thinking and in as managing your enterprise. That your assessment, that depends actually how you are doing it. Then are you focused based on optimistic, realistic, or pessimistic assumptions? Okay, so a business, establishing a business is totally on assumption. We assume that, yeah, if I do this, if I float my business in such a way, definitely this segment will be my customer. This I'll have to convince them through our hoardings, through banners, through advertising. So that way we manage our enterprise, manage our products of our enterprise, right? So now again, you have to assess yourself. You have to search your whys, your why within yourself. In my very first slide, I mentioned that how much optimistic you should be and how much realistic you should be, or how much pessimistic you be. So it's not, we are not studying psychology, but we should understand the psychology of our customer. So managing enterprise, not only managing your customers, not only managing your products, not only managing finance, it's combination of 3, 4, 5 things and parameters of your mental assumption, how you implement, how you assess it, and how you go for it. So that's there, you know. Then borrowing. What type of borrowing you require? Overdraft, term loan, overdraft from the bank. Term loan facility is also there, so that you have to chase your bank, you have to settle all these things in your bank. But borrowing should, like, there are two types of companies. One, basic kind of what we call in normal language lala type companies. So they are everything, you know, is going in a stereotype manner, like, yeah, of course there are big businesses also to this, but if you have a bigger goal in establishing, pushing your industry to an upper level, then you should be well versed with all these things. Borrowing, you should be easy with all these things. You should make yourself comfortable with all these things. That what type of percentage you are going to pay to the bank, what type of percentage, or what type of, in case of crowdfunding or shareholders or combination, you know, like crowdfunding and loan as well. So then you have to set a rule for yourself that this much amount as interest I'm going to pay, or this much share of my company I'm going to pay float in the market, open market. Okay, so you should be ready for that. If you have a plan that I want to make my industry or entity. So how and when do you plan to repay the money? What guarantees of collateral are you able to provide? So you should be well versed, well equipped with all this terminology and, you know, processes, so that while asking for money to the bank or anywhere in the market, you should not, you know, get anywhere. So you should be ready with all this. Then equity, what kind of capital is offered to investors? As I mentioned, that in case of share, preference share, common shares, convertible loans, or if you have any other option, then. So what is the anticipated return on investment? When may investors expect it? What are the exit terms for the investors? Establishment of, you know, so there should be a vision, missions, business definition, adopting business models, setting goals and objectives. These are very basic things. Obviously, when we are going to establish one enterprise or managing it, so we should know, we should make ourselves very clear with all these things. Then formulation of strategies. How? Conducting a SWOT analysis, your strength, your weakness, you know, everything you should analyze it in a proper way prior entering in the market, formulating corporate and business level strategies, strategic analysis, choices, strategic plan, all should be there. Then implementation of strategies. Okay, you are ready with your strategies, then what next? Of course, implementation in a proper way should be there. So activities, strategies, designing structure, system and processes, behavioral and functional implementation, and operationalizing strategies. So all these are very common, but what is your behavioral and, you know, functional implementation? So again, the psychological thing is here. Your behavior, the way you implement, the way you think, how to launch it, and how to reach to the market. So functional implementation should be there. That depends the way your observation is. So that reflects through your attitude, and implementing process. So that's the review, evaluation, and control. So performing strategic evaluation, exercising strategic control, and reformulating strategies. Okay, so once we have implemented our thing in the market, okay, we have our organization, we run one project for the FSWs. So I know one entrepreneur, he approached me like FSW means we have registered female workers who are different from these like normal women. They are registered with a different code. Their work is different. One entrepreneur, he approached me like, you have a female sex workers project with NACO. So how many, he just wanted me to share the numbers, give the numbers actually, nothing else. So I asked him, okay, what exactly, I mean, there in your mind, what you are looking for? He said, ma'am, I'm going to, I have a small unit. We produce VDRL kit. It's very basic actually, but if I get these numbers, get the exact figure from your organization, so I'll be in a position to assess like what type, because we are a buyer of this VDRL kit from him for last 5 years. So now that he has established a good rapport with us, so we told that this is a particular figure, and we can also connect you with few other organizations who are running this type of projects. So we shared good gesture without mentioning the name of the female, only the number, that these are the numbers. And in whole daily, he got kind of more than 2 lakhs, more than 2 lakhs population through our network. And foreigners are also there. So they also need VDRL kit for this. He he started circulating later with giving our references, and now after that, like implementation, after the strategy he designed, and now he's a big company. Not only in Delhi, Biomed, you must have heard about this. So it's now the presence of this organization is this enterprise is in more than 14 states of India and supplying more than 20 countries of the world now. So you can see the way the person, the name is Mr. Deepak. So Deepak implemented first formulate the strategies. After formulating the strategies, he implemented in a market-oriented way. So whenever we are going to manage your enterprise in terms of finance, in terms of market, sustainability, rather I would say. So you have your strategic planning should be there, and how you are implementing it. Then after implementation, review, evaluation, and control should be there. Then main products, markets, and clients. Repeatedly, I'm mentioning since my first slide that it depends your most important products or services. Like whenever you are running an enterprise, so different product range will be there. You may also deal with one product, but normally what happened, like if you want to raise your company in a higher level, put your company in a, in a higher level. So there should be range of products, like a company who is producting, products. So it's not like beauty products. So this particular company is not only into one product. There are range of products like uh, skincare kits, care kits, so many things are there. So that again we have to be look after. Then what they look like and how are they used? Again, market survey, your strategy, your implementation process, evaluation, and your monitoring, regular monitoring. So that exists the existing and targeted markets, local, regional, national, and international. So that whenever we are searching for market or trying our products in the market, so we have to be very focused which particular market we are approaching. The size of the target markets and its growth potential, your present and future market share, your customers. Then concerns of strategic planning. So long-term dynamics in its concern, not day-to-day tasks. Then growth, direction, extent, pace, and timing of growth. There should be a proper that when and in the time frame is there, that when you are going to hit this in the market and what is your expectation. Then environment, that is fit between business and its environment. Launching a product without verifying the environment will not work. So you have to be very focused on that. Portfolios of business, product, market scope, etc. need to Then strategy is its concern. Okay. Integration of all the things should be there. You should not be dealing with it in a particular thing while managing your enterprise. You should be diversified, like market, finance, product verification, environment, your environment, market environment, your environment in the company itself, the way the things, so many things are there. So you have to be diversified in your thinking. Not it should not be like you are very kind of thinking in one direction, then it will not work. Creating core competencies, competitive advantages. Then obviously if you are easily in this, is going to sustain for long and will achieve success definitely. Then corporate strategy, in one word, corporate is strategy is the main concern, how you implement and how you strategize your plan. So strategic implementation process will be strategies and policies are put into action through development of programs, budget and procedures. One thing while you are strategizing your things, so you should be well aware of your laws, processes, and your whom certification things. It should be very clear. Like if I am producing a product and a product of food related to food, then there are plenty of food security measures that you have to adapt, and you have to have certified from these bodies. So similarly, whatever your what type of production you are into doesn't make any difference, but you must be well aware of the certification of the approval process of the authorities, so that should be there in your strategy. Then program is a statement of steps needed to, it's your like, it's not related to a particular production or something. So it's kind of how you are doing it, your implementation process, what type of steps you are going to take, if it is a single program, single time process, or multiple times you are going. So that again depends. You have to verify. Then procedure steps technical that describe in detail how a particular job is to be done. Then again, coming into finance, so characteristics, it's real, consequential, and directive. Then challenging but achievable in terms of revenues. Yeah, a challenge, we love to take challenges, but we should know my target, how much I'm going to achieve. At least a tentative figure should be there in my mind. So it should be actual, rather, prior projecting it, you should know that this much amount I'm going to take as for my company or for my enterprise. So that is financial strategic, inclusion, we can call it. So then creativity, decision creative and original through brainstorming. Okay, copy paste if you are, yeah, there are entrepreneurs. I know they are doing things in a way like, and it's very common mentality. Like if you go to a market or a place, you will find. I'm giving this example for small businesses. So you will find plenty of similar kind of shops are there. At the same time, if you visit the industrial places, you will find that similar kind of production houses are lying in the line. So that that is kind of copy paste. So of course, then what you are doing, you are someone else and trying to bring the buzz in your company. So that way you are not going to get a full market, depend on half market only or partial. So you have to be very innovative and kind of new products, new line of thinking should be there while launching it. Then in every situation is unique. Of course, we know in terms of market rate payment that yeah, there are companies that if we take a geo network, so almost all the other network it's finished now. Only 3 or 4 network prevailing now, existing now. So again, if you have that potential, that unique kind of approach in pre-existing system to comply with and implement, then okay with that. Otherwise, it's not going to, normally it not works. Then demographic factors, age, education, intelligence, values, as I mentioned, like geo network has reached to every small village of India. Demographic, education, your intelligence, you know the market, you are creative in that way in assessing. Also, that means you are unique. Then you can go ahead with that. Then, of course, participation, group decision making should be there. The financial planning template. The financial plan is critical to the success of your business plan. Especially, it is in the purpose of getting a bank loan. A cash flow focused is most important from a planning perspective. There are 3 sections in a financial plan. Then, starting balance sheet, pro forma income statement, the cash flow. Already I mentioned all these in my previous slide. So then outline, starting cost, estimate current assets, estimate capital assets, estimate startup expenses, starting balance sheet, total assets, planned investment, planned loans, liabilities you have to take into account, then balance formula, assets equal to liability plus equity. In income statement like startup expenses, focused revenue, focused cost of goods, cost overhead expenses, then revenue minus expenses, net profit. These are basically assumption for your for managing your enterprise, but you have to be very much well versed and well equipped with this. Cash flow, it should be in your fingertip while running one enterprise. Estimate monthly sales, adjust monthly sales, account receivable, whatever is due, what is pending, that should be in your fingertip. Loans and investments, then calculate total receipts, estimate monthly purchase, adjust for account payable. These are basic things. When we manage our cash flow, we take our cash flow, forward startup cost, calculate disbursements, starting balance plus receipts minus disbursements. These are common things that you must be studying in your class. So there are 5 steps for your financial planning. Be patient. Then second, people who do not have expertise in finance. So preparing a financial plan is a journey into the unknown. So you have to be very big. I mean, every time you say like while managing or working on finance, we should maintain our patience, maintain our focus. A single figure can change your whole system. So we should be very patient in managing this. Read the entire planning guide before starting on the plan. You will learn what information you require to assemble the financial part of the plan. Then get help in assembly. Be consistent. Don't keep changing yourself. You should be very consistent. Make sure that your financial plan is consistent with the rest of the business plan. Pricing section, margin and everything in your that should reflect in your income statement. Then use the simple template provided. In Excel, you manage it. Then you should be able to calculate your break-even. Break-even point in your business is the point at which your sales revenues equals to your expenses. At the point you neither make money nor do you lose any. So that you should be in a position to calculate that way in your break-even. Break-even can also be used to evaluate a business expense or any other business expenditure. So simply knowing additional revenue will require to cover additional costs. So that way you can also expand. Then fixed cost, variable costs, or the actual costs of making the product or providing services. They can include material, shipping and control labor. Capacity governs your output. It can be measured in units of production. So that also again, need to be calculated. Then fixed cost. This is a very common formula we use while running our enterprise. It's fixed cost divided by upon unit price minus unit cost equal to break even in units. Okay. So this is very basic thing that we all of us I think by the time we are going to establish your unit, okay, you will learn everything. There are typically 3 sources of debt financing in a business startup. They are, so why I am repeating every time, like while managing your enterprise or prior planning, finance is very much required. So you should know all the sources, where to approach, how to get my project funded. So, suppliers credit. Sometimes supplier, I mean, suppose for a production of this glass. So there are suppliers. They will sometime they provide credit. So you can depend on that. But again, relationship build up, your behavioral approach that really matters. Usually this is for inventory. Okay. But so, initially it doesn't work. So you have to be very careful. Then bank equity, bank loan, for starting available things are there. You should know. Then bank term loan is there. Then bank line of credit is also there. There is a all of you must be aware of all this, that there is an overdraft system in business. It is important to use the line of credit to finance current assets and the term loan to finance capital assets. Systems that you can approach your bank for bank line credit. Then shareholders loan, again, this can only happen in a limited company although. So if after growing your business, taking your business into that level, you can get this facility from the market. Then investment, equity investment is there. You put into your own company. The other types of equity, retained earnings, so many kind of, equity patterns are there. So it's available that you can check and apply for your business. How to determine your new company's financial needs? Then share one of the biggest challenges of starting a new business is making sure you will have enough money. Then without adequate financial resources, you are not going to be able to run your business in a proper manner. So entrepreneurship is mandatory, but it requires to be realistic about how long it will take for revenues to catch up to costs. You may have to endure losses for 1 or 2 years, perhaps even longer, and you will need money to to cover up all this. So you should be ready with this. And it may stretch up to 2 years even more. To ensure you have adequate funds, it is important to estimate your financial needs before starting a new business. The first step is to figure your expenses. Add-up cost. A one-time cost it may include like legal, professional, incorporating or registering your business. So these are, getting license, website for your advertisement. So recurring expenses will include such as salaries, rent, lease, payment, raw materials. Then once you have determined this initial flow you have, you are okay with this, then you can start. Prior establishing, you should calculate your financial resources. Starting capital, what will be the exact amount, then how you are going to generate this, and potential market and industry, all these things, estimate, you should, plug in your estimates and resources and expenses. You should project it in a one single way for your business. Then examination, evaluation after evaluating, whereas the shortfalls and how you are going to remedy it. So bridge the gap. Are you able to bridge? So after evaluating, you can think of starting it. Then personal investment. Normally, there are systems for establishing like provisions through startup, stand-up, innovation, incubation planning for funding sources are there. But your personal investment capacity should also be assessed. by yourself. So cash or financial assets, like in terms of contributing in infra, like suppose you have a land or you have a building. So your assessment, your assumption, that also your capacity should also be measured prior entering in the market. Then friends and family. Normally, there is a trend that new entrepreneurs they borrow or take support from their family and friends. So sometimes we call it love money. So we should also access also our love money, and we should know the exact figure. Then different finance systems are there, debt financing and all. So we should also know it outside equity financing, grant and subsidies. So actually, what I mean to say is like you should be well versed with all the available financial resources through different schemes, through banks, what your state government is doing, what the central government is providing. So we should be ready with all these things. Innovation actually, while uh, going to start a new venture, as I mentioned, that innovation should be there and we should be very innovative while establishing or planning to going for an enterprise establishment or management. So innovation should be there. So basically, uh, it should be in a, innovation is kind of vaccine that you keep keep yourself alive in the market. So it's kind of rejuvenation, like give energies, how to survive. So it's very necessary ingredient for the sustainability of a business. Your product should be innovative. Your market, the way you approach it should be innovative. Your financial availability and availing finance, how you approach to the bank, that should again be innovative. So, innovation basically, we know that leaders, they are very innovative. And who are leaders? Who rule in the market. So this is related concept that leaders are innovative. They are able to manage their enterprise in a better way. So it's interlinked. We should know this concept and we should be uh, you know very innovative in a way. So leadership excellence. If we what are these qualities like communication, tone setting, coaching. We should keep ourselves updated through coaching, through feedback. Self-management should be there. How we develop ourselves, like down like 10 years back or 15 years back, we uh, we couldn't even think like delivering, studying through Zoom app. So how we managed, we developed ourselves. So to keep ourselves updated, we need to coach ourselves first, need to develop ourselves. So it's similarly applicable in enterprise management as well. Then you have to be a very good decision maker. And there is a proverb: if you are not able to take decision for yourself, others will start taking decision. So that means you are vanished from the market. So you have to be very visible for this. Then courage and risk taker you should be. Relationship and power management are also there. Innovation and change already I mentioned. Then planning and vision. So if we think in that way, planning, vision, innovation and change, relationship and power, courage and risk, decision making, developing yourself, self-management, coaching feedback, then tone setting. So it's a cycle, and we all should be well versed. So if you want to go after you, I mean, so that's all from my side. If you don't go after what you want, you will never have it. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. If you move forward, you are always in the same place. So to go ahead, be innovative, be, I mean, make yourself prepare for strategy, planning. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Any
ma'am.
question?
That was really wonderful. The way you have shared your experience, the way you have shared the nuances, particularly related to finance. So I'm sure the participants, they have got some idea and they have really got benefited by your thoughts and by your views. There is one question which I would like to ask, but it's related to again finance, and once going through your presentation and your lecture, they have got the answer. But the question was like, how much the knowledge about finance is going to help us before entering into a business? So if quickly you can just summarize one or 2 points, important points.
Okay, we have just a minute. Can you please hold for a while? I cannot see you, and some problem has occurred. Just a minute. Sign in. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, you are
Hello.
audible. You're audible,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay, so some problem is there, so I cannot see you. Okay, so your question is, I mean, our financial knowledge, how we are, is going to help in managing our enterprise. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
Yes,
definitely
yes, ma'am. Yes.
Without financial knowledge, we cannot think even running a business. So suppose we have different schemes, and the students, if I mean after passing from this university, they going to establish units or enterprises somewhere. So like we must have knowledge about financial like term loans, the bank, the way a bank finances for innovative schemes. And so many schemes are there. Then name-wise schemes like startup scheme is there. So we need to know that I'm going to get help from these schemes, from these financial schemes. Then we need to know that these are the banks, they are going to help us, and this much amount, and how to prepare the proposal. Only then we'll be able to go for establishing our unit or running our unit. So financial knowledge is mandatory.
Thank you, ma'am. Quickly, like one more question, that what exactly is your mantra for a successful entrepreneur?
Okay, three things should be there. Like you should be very innovative. Your thinking should be persistent, and your analyzing analyzing capacity should be very focused. These three things, if you have, definitely you're going to be a good entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur.
Thank you so much, ma'am. The way you have explained about starting a new business, what are the knowledge and what are the skills that are required. You have talked about the business plan. You have talked about how one has to do the SWOT analysis, the requirements that are there and the essentials for business, the attitude and the approach one should have, like very optimistic and innovative. That is one thing, and how you can actually be there in the market. Don't be absent from the market. Keep yourself updated. The financial, how one can prepare the financial template, how they can calculate the break-even points, and the leadership excellence. These were the few things, ma'am, which you have highlighted and you have talked about, and I'm sure the participants, they have got benefited through your views and through your experience. And thank you so much, ma'am. We are really pleased, we are really honored to have you here. You have shared your views, you have shared your point. I mean, you've taken out your valuable time. I know you are there in Sundarban for the relief work. So we wish you all the best for your ma'am work that you are doing, and we have really learned so many things from you. Thank you so much for being there. Thank you so much,
Thank you
ma'am.
so
And we really
much.
thank
I
all the
enjoyed
participants.
this.